Okay, today we want to talk about this rather touchy topic, I think, which is called parental abuse.
Yes,
And the reason why I say it's touchy is because I think abuse happens, correct me if I'm wrong, abuse happens without people realizing, and when you point out to them that this is abuse, they said no way, right? And they get all offended by that. So as usual, we have our resident counsellor here, Mr Hairril, to share with us some of his experiences and his thoughts about parental abuse. This topic, parental abuse, you were the one who suggested lah. Usually we are the ones who suggest the topic. But yeah. So this time, what made you want to suggest this topic?
Okay, primarily because I believe some of my clients who are seeing me, they are the one who mentioned about this topic first up. And then secondly, I think recently from MSF, they have seen an increase in number of parental abuse towards kids.
Okay.
So I think it's important to actually highlight how parents can better manage themselves. At the same time, how the community can help out these parents who may or may not know the wrongs that they are doing.
So there's an increase in parental abuse.
Correct.
That's very...
this is reported by MSF?
MSF, yeah.
Oh, no, because macam when I see online, there's a lot of macam gentle parenting, and macam I saw some parents like they are trying so hard to like be overly gentle to their children. So macam ni parental abuse is...
No lah, I imagine they know about gentle parenting.
Yeah, but they cannot do it.
But they can't do it. They cannot control themselves when the need to abuse. I don't know. Can you call it need to abuse?
Need to abuse. Okay, so when you say parental abuse, is it physical abuse, mental abuse, or?
I think for MSF side will be physical abuse and possibly even mental abuse lah.
But if it's physical abuse, isn't it clear cut? Like.
Yeah, but the problem is what is reported is just that the unreported one yang budak-budak that the kids that do not want to report or the fear of reporting to the authorities. Okay. Yeah, so those are the unreported ones. So, you know.
So the reported one is just the physical abuse lah.
Most likely, yes.
So okay then because the physical abuse is quite clear cut. Like if you've been beaten up regularly and then you have bruises and all that don't get better, then they can be considered as abuse. But then there's also the maybe not so old lah, but there's a tradition of caning and like inflicting pain lah on the kids. So I think and that is allowed by Singapore law lah. It's causing pain by way of correction. You want to correct the kid, but below 21 years old lah. After 21 you cannot
beat anyone.
So in that sense, where do you draw the line between how do you know it's abuse and?
Okay, I think the best model would be our Prophet's model. He actually gave us places where we are allowed to hit. But the funny thing or the interesting thing is that he gives us permission on certain areas. But if you look at it from the lens of people who have lived with him, they've never even seen him.
People who have what?
Lived with him.
Live?
You know, he's tinggalkan dia.
Left him. Okay.
No, stay with him.
Oh, stay with him.
Stay with him. Yeah.
Okay.
So those that lived with him, right? They don't report any instance where the Prophet ﷺ actually beat them. So yes, there's a line to it. Though you are not allowed to touch the face, any sensitive part. And then scholars mention that you can only touch the hands and the feet.
So Rasulullah SAW has never been reported to have struck a child or inflicted pain as a means to like correct the behavior of someone.
The caning, I think, is just traditional way, our own traditional way.
What caning? Like in our society?
Because I heard Because I heard one of the mothers lah from Tarim, like she said that macam just put the cane is kira part of the sunnah. Just put the cane to instill fear.
Is it? Yelah, but that's not the act of caning.
But not the act of caning.
Maybe tarbiyah.
Oh, so you're allowed to like showcase a cane.
Kira macam
in case
threaten. So is that abuse?
It's not a threat. It's just she's just putting the cane up there lah. It's a reminder, right?
Okay.
Yeah, I think reminders are needed for kids because that's one of the ways where they learn. They see something, and then once you instill fear before the age of 3, they will most likely fear that probably for the rest of their life. Yeah, because I think Gabor Mate, the author and one of the best psychologists in the world, he actually mentioned that kids below the age of 3, they have the capacity to actually understand the parents' fears. So for example, kalau the parents, okay, most likely the mom lah. Kalau the mak takut
Below the age of 3,
below age of 3,
he can understand the parents' fears.
fear. Yeah, so like before 3, let's say you instill in them, you show to them that you are fearful of cicak, lizards, or cockroaches. They will be scared of these things. Yeah.
I'm gonna get a cat.
So yeah.
Please don't expose me and my fear to the public. Okay. And then.
So yeah.
So they will realize that the parents have this fear.
Correct.
And then they will follow. And then, so in relation to the cane being showcased on the wall, right? That one I think, so they see the cane and they get reminded of. But if they've never been struck by the cane, right, they never felt pain from the cane, like how would that instill fear?
I think that's where fear would be secondary, but the communication or the connection is primary.
More important.
Yeah. Because like for example, I think when I read Gabor Mate's book on Hold On To Your Kids, one of the best takeaways from me from that book would be that he mentions parenting is not a skill.
Okay.
It's a relationship.
Okay.
Yeah. So when I read that, I was like, okay. So when I continued to read further, it seems that most of us, especially in these modern times, we tend to go to workshops, parenting skills, how to become a good parent, and then yada yada. By the end of the day, if according to Gabor Mate, is that the moment you form a very concrete foundation or relationship with your child, they will obey you regardless.
Yeah.
The problem with now is that kids, unfortunately, because of our circumstances, yes, they are sent to childcares or preschools too early. So they mix around more with their peers.
That's quite interesting.
Their peers rather than their parents.
Okay.
So
yeah, but I mean the reality in Singapore, right?
Correct.
Both are working, so they have to be put in childcares.
But I think it's interesting what you're saying about this the relationship is the one that, so between parent and child, this relationship leads to the child being obedient.
Yes.
Does it work for husband-wife relationship?
I think that's different because both are adults.
Okay.
I'm just wondering lah. I mean, whether it's the same idea that is, transferable.
But I think it's similar lah. Like kalau you have a good relationship with your wife, then it's easier for the wife to listen. Right?
I don't know.
And it works for any macam friends also, or like mak bapa, even for adults also. I believe that it's the relationship is the key to better communication.
So how does this fear, like having a cane on the wall, let's put this example, a cane on the wall, how does this kind of fear lead to obedience? It's like, it's not a fear based on relationship, right? It's a fear based on having pain inflicted on you, kan? So where is the relationship part coming in?
I think more of the trust that the child gives towards the parent. So like for example, the cane, yes, it serves as a reminder or a message to the kid.
Okay.
But before that, possibly the mother, I mean based on Atin's story, would be that the mother might have created a very strong bond towards the kids, that everything the mother says, the kid trusts her or believes her. So for example, so macam if the mom says, if you don't get back by this time or you do this, I will take out the cane and will cane you. So because of that trust between the kid and the mother, the kid believe that, oh no, my mom is going to cane me if I don't follow or obey her.
Oh, okay.
So I think primarily, goes back to the relationship itself again lah. Yeah.
I think it depends on the age also.
Correct.
Yeah, I think at certain age baru the cane should be there. Macam like 7 to maybe 9 years old.
Okay.
Like below 7, I think lah. Like I think the cane shouldn't be there lah.
No, but wait. So if you're never ever going to use the cane, but the cane is there, what if one day the kid calls your bluff, say, all this while you put the cane there?
It's very possible,
Right, then.
Yeah, it's very possible.
So
you're not going to use the cane. I don't know. You ask him.
And then if he has little siblings, say, actually, dad is never going to use the cane. You don't have to worry.
It's possible.
Kan?
Possible. But then I think based on kids, I think what you mentioned just now is, what if like he told the younger siblings that, Umi won't take out the cane.
The action je.
Action je. I believe that will not happen because if you get older, if you look at ourselves also as siblings who are older than we have younger siblings, we wouldn't be. Usually, most of the time when our siblings get scolded, we tend to be at the back smiling or laughing, right? So we wouldn't be wanting to tell them, or Umi won't tell them, unless maybe you're an uncle, or yes, maybe you possibly will tell your nephew or niece, don't worry, Umi or Abah won't take out the cane. Yeah, I think that was.
You scare them even more.
No lah.
You see, stand by.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's a fear.
fear.
Okay, so quite interesting lah. The fact that
but I
these kids.
think he's stressed on relationship more lah. Like once you have the relationship, then macam the fear to instill when it's necessary je. Like when they are going overboard.
Correct.
So when does the abuse part come in then? Like if your client has talked to you about this parental abuse. I imagine the ones who come to you are those who are not the abusers. Cannot be lah.
The children lah.
Yeah.
The victims lah.
So what is the like? What are the complaints and then how do you address these things?
Primarily, of course, it depends on the levels of abuse itself. Because some may come and then think that, we are not even supposed to cane or we're not supposed to hit. Yes, but where did the cane hit you? So usually, if they are being hit and the way they are hit doesn't cause any marks or pain so much that the person, maybe the skin test or something like that, then that will cause me to ask them, what did you do that made your parents angry? So for me, the level of abuse only comes when they don't do anything, but they still get the abuse.
Okay.
They still get that cane. That would be abuse for me, from my perspective.
Okay, so it's not about the severity of the pain or the grievousness of the pain. It's more about
the reason
why, whether it's justified for the pain to be there.
It's both. So if, like, for example, if you accidentally hit the cup and the cup falls down, breaks, because of that, the mom hits him or her, to an extent where the skin test. Yeah.
So there's both lah. There's the invalid reason and there's also grievous pain.
Yeah. So grievous pain would be, like, for example, that you cause harm. But if it's because of you not listening to your mom, then again there's another line. There's another layer to it. Like your mom can hit you maybe on your hand or your feet, but how much can she hit? That depends on this. Like maybe a hit or two would be enough.
Oh, okay. But it's not an easy task for you to go and draw the line between what is enough and what is not. And you got to look at the reason.
Correct.
And you become the arbiter of justice.
Kind of. Yes.
But you won't hear from the parents' perspective, what? You only hear from the children.
From my client, right?
From your client. So how do you be fair?
So the first part would be I will trust them first. And then along the way, I will try to ask them the same question again. So if it kinds of strays away,
doesn't match.
Yeah, it doesn't match. Then if maybe for guys, maybe I ask them certain questions like at the side of at the top of your mom, what do you think of her? Describe your mom in 3 words.
Oh, so you ask the alleged abuser to describe their mother.
Correct. So, like, for example, the
positive things or
any word.
Or
so, like, for example, if I were to ask you about your mom, if you can think about your mom right now, can you share with me or describe me in 3 words? So sometimes they can say caring, confused, or caring, scary, and strict. Yeah. So if caring, scary, and strict, where is that caring coming from? Where is that strict coming from? Yeah.
Okay, so if let's say for example, if they describe their mother as, my mother is caring, strict and
scary.
Scary.
Yeah.
Scary.
Yeah, scary.
Then how will you?
Yeah, that's why.
Dia ada manual. Caring.
Apa DSM 5 manual?
Tak adalah. When you first describe a person within 3 words, that's a summary of your whole life with that person. Yeah, so from there, then I ask them first, okay, when you say caring, on what aspect do you describe her as caring? So maybe caring would be dia masakkan. So the needs are fulfilled. That's why he's caring. But for scary, maybe kalau if I don't listen to her, if I don't obey her, she will throw the chair at me. Something like that. And it happened to one of my clients before. Yeah. So maybe she will throw the chair at me, or maybe hit me with a belt on my face, on my rib cage, those kind of things, which is very unfortunate. So when these scary and strict are in line, the stories of scary and strict are more than the caring. Then it shows that yes, the client have gone through that. Whether it really happened, that's not up to me to judge, because I trust all my clients that they are 100% true.
They're telling the truth lah.
I see. Okay.
Because it's a bit I mean that's based on the 3 words that would describe the relationship, and then you prescribe something, or so that's a diagnosis of the situation. So you analyze what happened, and when it comes to giving the solution, so would it be based on their relationship with their mother?
Depends on a certain level. For example, if they are very estranged from their parents, like maybe let's say the dad they are estranged from the dad. I will then ask them, since those abuse happened when you were much more younger, what have you gotten out at this age? Maybe they are 30 years old, 20 plus years old. They are not living with their parents, so on and so forth. So once they say like, okay, this is what I went through from this age to this age, and then after this age, I wasn't being beaten up anymore. For some other reasons. So I asked them, if you were to point out something that out of the whole scary, strict father or mother of yours, what would be the worst memory that you have? So I will tackle that issue. Because the memory the first thing that strikes out on their mind is the one that is very apparent to them. So something that until now they are trying to maybe recover from it or resolve it, but unable to do so.
So in a way it's similar to the treatment of, like the other time we were talking about, identify the underlying trauma that was the root cause the single incident that has an effect until today. So I would say it's similar lah.
Yes, very similar.
So you won't say like oh, your parents are toxic.
No, I won't. Because from my Islamic point of view, I think I still hold on to the idea of, even though your parents abuse you, they are not fulfilling your rights as a child and their responsibility as a parent. That doesn't give you a right to not fulfill your responsibility as a child towards them. Because even if you look at it, the first one would be Allah has commanded us, and scholars have mentioned that the fact that Allah has commanded us to do good to our parents, even if they are non-Muslims, it shows that even if they are abusive also, we have to be
dutiful
to them. But in what sense? Then that's when scholars have mentioned that, okay, for example, I asked one of my teachers, Ahmad Al-Ansari, I asked him, like for example, a client who cannot see the father, because of, unfortunately, when she was younger, she remembers that the dad touched her inappropriately and wanted to do things to her. He said that.
So she can't even look at her father.
Yeah, cannot. So the sight of the father angers her and possibly can cause her to maybe
trigger all the trauma.
Yes, and maybe she can even faint because of the overwhelming stress. So he said that she needs to be dutiful to her parents still, which is like, for example, her dad, but in a sense where she doesn't need to see him. So for example,
give money or
for example, money, or maybe the father happens to be physically unwell after hitting a certain age. So technically the age, yes, to him he would question like, yes, I've beaten her then, but now I don't beat her anymore, I don't abuse her anymore, but why is she treating me this way? That would be the question in his head. But for her, that trauma stays throughout her life. So how can she still be dutiful towards him? So for example, if he needs help, maybe he calls her to assist him in something. Let's say
order Grab food lah.
Yeah, order Grab food and then we can give it to him, or maybe purchase something for him but hang it dekat luar, or ask someone to take the food from him.
That's beautiful.
Yeah. So for physically things, like maybe she can try and source for ways to provide him with help.
Okay.
Yeah, so those are the ways where I will still advise my client, because at the end of the day it's up to them. To be dutiful to your parents, even though you might have a very bad experience or history with them.
But that is very hard. It's a very hard thing to do lah.
Correct.
You know. But macam I think it's normal for us to macam focus on what y'all did to me instead of like our rights. Focus on our rights instead of our responsibilities towards others kan. And I feel like it's easier to macam okay lah, just pardon your father. You know, macam your father mungkin they are still learning, they are still new in parenting, they're still young. But in cases of like just now you were saying touching inappropriately, like rape and everything semua, how do the girl move on and see the father and still be dutiful? I don't know how do you tell your client that just be dutiful to your father?
You cannot be counsellor lah.
Yeah, but how? You know, it's not easy kan.
Yeah.
And it's about dia punya dignity.
Correct.
And marwah, and I would imagine they will scarred for life lah kan.
Correct.
So how?
Yeah. So I will then assess them based on their religiosity again. So if they are, alhamdulillah, if they tend to be very religious, then I will ask them, let's say on the day of judgment, you know, putting yourself on the day of judgment where Allah brings you forward and ask you, have you been dutiful towards your parent? And then you were to say, oh, my mom maybe, but for my dad I didn't, because he did those things to me.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
So yes, to them it's a valid excuse for them to not fulfill their responsibility. But what if, you know,
What if they're wrong?
Yeah, what if they're wrong? You know, what is the possibility of being wrong? What if Allah say, you know, if you had been dutiful to your dad, even though you went through that, because I've, you know, there are learned humans, you know, like scholars and all, that have already
Managed to do that.
you know, like like give you answers, you know, how you're still able to be dutiful towards them, but yet you did not seek knowledge, which is wajib upon us.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So what would you feel on that day? Yeah. So
Maybe their patience would be the reason for them to enter Jannah lah.
possible. Yeah. And also maybe patience together with them fulfilling their responsibility as a child would be their ticket to Jannah also.
So you paint this kind of picture on Judgment Day.
Correct.
As a means to get them thinking.
Yes.
So in
If
a way,
they are religious.
if they are really, of course, I think that's the first qualifier lah. You have to assess the level of religiosity, so called, of these people. But okay, so does it work if you paint a picture?
Okay. So far till today, I only got 3 clients yang have experienced this. Okay, one of them, yes, it worked, because she's alhamdulillah, she did hijrah and then she changed and then she understood and she studied from, or she's still studying with very good teachers. So that's when that situation works for her.
Okay.
Yeah, for the other one, again, okay, just to be honest, it's a premature cut, means she didn't want to continue therapy anymore.
Okay.
Yeah, she just wanted to source out for I would say possibly even a more experienced or and a therapist that can help her better lah.
Okay lah.
Yeah.
The way she defines better lah.
Correct.
Okay.
And then the first, the current one that I'm handling right now, I've not yet asked her that question.
Okay.
Yeah, because of,
Okay, if
again,
you're listening.
It means not everyone would take too well with this idea of.
Yeah, of course lah.
Correct.
Of course. I mean, I myself cannot imagine macam, wah, I am a victim and then you ask me to be dutiful to my father who scarred me for life.
No lah, I mean I'm talking about using the Judgment Day as a.
Yalah, as in
a means to
even
think
if you
about it.
paint that picture pun, like when you are in that situation and you're kena abused like that and your dignity is being taken away from you for life, it's not easy to think of Judgment Day. It's not easy to think that, oh, at worst they might think that, oh, Allah is not fair.
Then it becomes the other extreme.
Yeah. Sebab macam there's so much anger tau in them.
Yeah, I understand.
So yeah, that's why it depends on the level of religious.
Religiosity.
No, but I'm quite amazed that for one of them, this
works,
technique
yeah,
it works lah,
Mashallah.
and I think that
Salute to that.
there
woman,
could be
mashallah.
value lah. I mean, he didn't have to
of
put a
course.
picture of Judgment Day like, as a means of instilling fear, like the cane lah. But okay, that means that there is a, because I think just like how we remind kids by putting a cane on the wall about reminding them that there is a possibility of punishment. I think many times also Allah reminds us in the Quran as to what Judgment Day is like, and it's also a reminder, which I think is a tool we should not belittle or discard, even in these approaches. But of course, there could be the effect of pushing people away, which is why you need to assess the religiosity first and so on. Yeah, it's not an easy task.
No, definitely, yeah.
So that's for like physical abuse and sexual abuse, But are there any other kinds like emotional abuse of children and?
Of course there is, or maybe there are.
Actually, guilt tripping and all this
Yes.
emotional manipulation.
For mental abuse, usually it goes back to the individual therapy, the normal anxiety, depression.
Okay.
Because those words are being said too often, that it makes the kids or the grown-ups believe that whatever their parents talk about them, say about them, or maybe their caregivers say about them will be true of them. So that itself, because of their self-esteem issue, which boils back down to having anxiety attacks or struggling with panic disorders, so on and so forth. So those are results of over years of mental abuse.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so mental abuse works in that way. Macam for example, if I have a kid, and then I keep on telling my kid, you're not good enough, or maybe, oh, you can't even do a small job. Why are you useful for? Kau tak guna, yeah.
That is mental abuse.
Yes.
Really?
Yeah, because
So you're guilty,
No.
over time. Because as parents, your responsibility is to always say good things about your kids. Yeah, to the point, I think there's a
Is
lot
it?
of words that that being passed around, saying that kalau, for example, a person says that bagus anak kau, your son is very obedient, just is able to play on their own, and then you give a negative, oh, this one is just temporary only because he's at your place. Yeah, so and some people say that you're not supposed to do that because whatever that you say about your kids are prayers after all. Yeah, so if you were to constantly say negative words or phrases to your child and that makes them believe about themselves, and then that's when the struggles of anxiety, depression comes. Yeah, so that's the way I would say, I wouldn't say normal, but that would be the normal therapy that I would do lah. It won't be the high intensity of abuse, physical abuse, sexual abuse. Yeah.
No, but so a key element in that is it is sustained, right? It's not a one-off. You did badly lah. You did terribly in your exam. It's a
It depends on the tone also.
Huh?
It depends on the tone also.
It depends on the tone also.
Yeah. So for example, you will say it that way, and they understand it, then it's okay. But if you,
okay.
so macam because it comes from a way of how they understand what you're trying to say. So for example, you say, I think you really did badly. Yeah. I hope that you can improve.
Like when you say calmly like that, objectively.
Correct.
Correct. Okay, because I grew up in a tough love kind of family, which I like because if I feel that macam if it's not for my father's tough love, I won't be who I am today. Macam, so I cannot imagine. Macam, I mean, when he says like macam buck up lah, you're not good enough, and it's, but I feel that it's good. I need that, macam, and sometimes I thank him for that. So like how is that mental abuse if like macam,
if it's sustained and like prolonged and the tone is wrong.
the tone is wrong.
That means the tone is like belittling, demeaning.
But at that time memang I felt belittled lah. Cuma macam after that I macam like
because your father used the correct tone.
Yeah, or either that, or you might have grown up to develop a growth mindset. So like for example, you don't care about the tone anymore because kids, they are not able to understand our phrase or our language properly. They only understand our tone. Kalau kita pekik je, kita marah, means marah to them.
Okay.
So over time they will understand it that way. For maybe grown up adults, maybe teenagers, if we are able to develop a growth mindset, then that's when we are able to ignore the tone, get the message, work on the message itself.
I see.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wah,
Mesti ignore the tone lah. So
susah gini nak adjust the tone.
your father dia macam, wah, you did terribly kan.
InsyaAllah.
Yeah, no, but I think it's important.
Ayah kalau you tengok ni. I'm sorry
So I think it's more of the, okay, so I think that's a very key point lah. Because conveying the message is important, but the message gets lost because the tone is wrong.
Correct.
And okay, so now I don't feel so bad by
What?
but when I tell them lah that, you know, you can be doing better than this.
Mental abuse, I report you.
You can be doing better than this because I think that we know how capable you are.
Yeah.
And this is
children need that.
Yeah, you don't need that. So okay. So I think, but if you say it angrily,
no, kalau macam you know you did badly also, macam, oh it's okay, you know.
that's worse lah, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and then the child might think, oh, it's really okay.
Yeah.
Then they won't develop, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
So that's where certain people may struggle with overpraising, where it destroys their self-esteem in another way. So, for example, I do have clients that they are scholars.
Okay.
Scholars
They are
in terms
scholars?
of on scholarship, macam NUS, NTU.
Okay.
Oh,
Okay.
on scholar.
On
Okay.
scholarship, yeah. So technically in school we call them scholars lah.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
They come from those schools,
Okay.
but they struggle with their self-esteem so bad because they are too up there.
Too used to
Like
praises.
Praises, yeah. So macam, you're super clever. You are the best. You are the amongst your other siblings, you are the best.
Okay.
You know, they constantly need to hold on to this title of I am the best
Validation.
all the time. The moment someone mock them or someone
Or someone is better than them.
they will feel like I'm not good enough because whatever that my parents say about me, I'm not fulfilling their words.
Wow, so overpraising can
Correct.
also cause damage.
Yeah,
So overpraising for sure causes damage.
And underpraising also
cause damage. Yeah.
causes
So that's why
damage.
the middle line is
So
always
we
the
need
best
to
way lah.
be khairul umur awsatuha.
No, but it's quite interesting because
Everything is
so overpraising might lead to self-esteem issues.
Correct.
Even for high performance.
Correct.
In academic high performance. But so but of course that would not be considered abuse lah, right? That is just something to be cautious of,
Yes.
because self-esteem issues, if they are not contained and if they are allowed to escalate and the need for validation is sustained, then there can be more severe issues
Yes.
as they grow up.
Wow.
And this is how old? With your scholarship?
30
then?
Scholarship 20 plus
Oh,
lah.
okay.
30 plus. 30 plus.
Oh, 30
already.
plus.
So they struggled with that until now lah.
Oh, when they were undergrads, they struggled
Yeah.
with that. Okay, I see. Okay, but is this a problem for like primary school kids? If there's like overpraising?
I've not
Oh, yeah,
counseled primary
okay.
school kids, but I think that's where the parents.
That's where it starts lah.
Yeah, the
kan?
parents are the one who develop them lah. Yeah.
So what is let me say is that there's really quite a lot that we don't know about what is okay and what's not okay, and some of the things that we feel might be okay might lead to very detrimental consequences that can amount to abuse. So it's not easy.
Yeah, it's not easy lah. Because especially when, for example, focusing on the negative rather than the positive. So for example, maybe the kid gets 90 out of 100. So usually what psychologists or child psychologists recommend parents to do is to ask them how they feel about it.
Okay.
If they feel sad, then ask them why are you sad? 90 is 100 to me seems okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Then after that they will say, oh maybe I could have gotten the extra 5 marks, 95 and outrank or beat up my other classmates. And then maybe you can say, yeah, I can foresee that happening, or maybe it's possible. Maybe I think you could have done that. But what does that makes you feel of outranking the rest? If they feel like, oh, I'll be proud, then that's when tarbiyah comes in again. Yes, if you're proud, but what are you proud about? Yes, I am proud of you, but being proud and overly, arrogant is not a good thing also. Yeah.
Okay.
I see. So in a way macam, are you using that achievement tu as like a validation or like to have pride lah? Or are you using that to macam develop yourself. Like, what's your intention?
Yes.
I see.
Sometimes
That's
indirectly
nice.
also can. Macam let's say you don't praise your child, kan? Tapi dengan your, let's say your siblings, technically the auntie and the uncle for the child, you say, oh, my son got the top in class, my son got the top in school, but at home you don't even praise him or her. So that will be another conflicting issue, and there's a lot of issues lah.
Yeah, actually like that how because I for me as a parent, I tend to I tend to not be so generous with praise, right? Like if you
tak generous langsung memang.
Like it has to be something spectacular. And then I'll say, okay, you did well.
Okay.
So and because I fear the complacency in mediocrity and so on. So I always tell them to aim higher. Okay. So in that sense, and then if let's say there's another auntie or uncle who, oh, you pass your exam, you got 50 upon 100, that's very good. So macam, it's conflicting.
Conflicting.
And then here I'm telling him, if you get 100 means no one got better than you, So it's like, how is this navigated actually?
Again, primarily would be the relationship itself between the child and the parent. So if the parent says something, the child will believe it. Yeah, that's one. Secondly, the first
so the
one.
parent,
Sorry?
As in, if the parent says something.
Correct. So for example, the parents say that, like you just want to say, if you get 100 of 100 means nobody else get better than you, right? And then the auntie goes to say that 50 of 100, you did well.
Alhamdulillah lah, pass.
Pass kan. So they will still believe you because you are the main caregiver or the main technically.
They trust you lah.
They trust you more because of the relationship that you have with them. Yeah, so that's why even if the aunties or uncles are going to praise them, it's more of a, I like that auntie because the auntie sees me as someone who can do things.
Okay, so they like the auntie, but
Yeah.
they don't necessarily trust
Correct.
that auntie.
That's true actually. Macam because I mean, whoever like my aunties ke relatives yang praise ke apa kan, I will still want my father punya macam if he says that macam, oh, I'm proud of you, wah, I will be so it means so much to me. But macam if my auntie ke apa, okay, like, but I don't really macam feel proud lah. Nah, that's true lah. That's true. Because at the end of the day, you want your parents to be proud of you mah.
Yalah, I mean, you want your parents to be proud of you, but if your parent is somebody who's not very generous with praise, that means the praise really means a lot.
Yeah, correct.
You know that this guy doesn't give praise very easily.
And you know that it's true when he says that.
There's value in tough love and all these things. Just that if it's a bit too tough, you got to manage lah. You got to assess if it amounts to like abuse.
I think that's why Islam is in moderation. Kan? Khairul umur awsatuha. Like the best of things is in moderation. So like overpraising is not good, underpraising is not good. And tadi overly gentle is not good, overly tough is also not good. So semua benda kena balance lah.
Yalah, and also the part where reminding them of judgment days too much. Too much if they're not ready for it can be not good.
Correct.
But if you don't remind at all, also it's not good. So in a way, it's also the middle path. You have to assess and evaluate lah. And I think that's something that if many parents can do in all aspects, not be too extreme to one end or to the other end. Then inshallah they can raise good children lah.
Inshallah.
Okay, I think that's all for this episode. Thank you so much for listening. Hope you have benefited. So we'll speak to you next time. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.